welcome to our opening day version of Chris's Clubhouse. We've got a whole bunch of them coming your way this year. I've got a question for you. On opening day, have you got your postseason plans made yet? Well, before you do, let's talk about what the Reds have to do to get there. First of all, 92 is the number. Every team that won 92 games last year went to the postseason. We're talking mainly about the Astros in that wild card bid. So how do the Reds get there? Well, first of all, they've got to pitch better. Keep the ball in the yard. They gave up 236 home runs last year, way too many, first in the National League. Starters have to go deeper into a ball game. 50 times last year they went in the 7th inning, not nearly enough, and hold on to the lead. The Reds lost 47 games after leading some point in the ball game. What about batting? Well, I'm not a batting coach. In fact, I don't even play one on TV, but I will tell you this, they strike out way too often. In fact, they were the most strike them out team in the league last year, so you got to cut down on it somehow. Make a little contact and then have a little fun at the plate. Those are just some of the things the Reds have to do to make the postseason. But wait, there are others as well, and we're talking about a little bit of defense out there. You got to keep the double play in order, and it didn't happen last year. The Reds were the worst in the National League in turning the double play, mainly because there were too many wild pitches, 74, and too many pass balls, 17. Add them up, and that's 91 times the catcher had to run all the way back and do a little FaceTime with the people in the diamond seats. You can't do that anymore. And also, you've got to win against the Astros and the Cardinals. They were 11-26 against those two teams last year, and if you don't play them any better again, guess what's going to happen? You're going to watch on TV while the Astros and Cardinals have their fun in the postseason. That's our first time here on Chris's Clubhouse, talking all about you. We'll be back after this. Junior, he's ready to hit the number 2 spot. Maybe swat a couple out of here. Baseball's next on FSN Ohio.
Welcome back to Cincinnati. Let's check our Rico starting lineup for Willie Randolph and the New York Mets. Jose Reyes from second to short this year. Matsui moves from short to second. Carlos Beltran, the free agent acquisition. How about Mike Piazza is behind the plate? He's hit well against the Reds. He had a great spring. Clifford Floyd hoping for an injury-free season. Doug Mientkiewicz over from the Red Sox at first. David Wright, fine young third base project. And Eric Valent, the former Reds, out in right. Pedro Martinez, the starting pitcher. That's 1 through 9. Your Rico starting lineup, and here's Paul Wilson, Chris.
Paul Wilson, 11-6 last year. Some people say he would have won a lot more games had the Reds not blown some saves for him, maybe 15 or 16 games. But overall, he's been a very good pitcher here at Great American Ballpark. He was 6-3 last year with an earned run average under 3.5. So Wilson, who had it going in spring training, needs to get some ground balls. Contact on the end of the bat is what he's looking for.
What a great sound, the crowd here at Great American Ballpark welcoming the first pitch of this 2005 season. Paul Wilson ready to go to work. Joe Randa in tied at third, guarding against a possible bunt from Reyes, who slaps it to the left side. Dunn battling a very sunny sky, hauls it in. Paul Wilson, emotion, yes. Some memories from when he was a Mets draftee. Won his first game as a Met. Now he's a Red. Looking forward to this year and this team.
It's pretty special. It really is. And amongst the group that we have now with Ramon and Eric, I mean, not to take anything away from the younger guys, but I mean, Eric and Ramon have pitched in their careers admirably and deserve it just as much as I do. And it's an honor to be the opening day starter with those guys in the rotation. And certainly, you know, it's something that I've always, you know, dreamed of doing. And it is just one game, you know, but it's a special game. And after that one, you know, we're going to get back to business. But I'm gonna sit back and just kind of soak it in for a little while.
He's got some 20 family members here, including his wife Shannon, and their brand new baby born in the month of December. So a pretty happy guy as Madison is in town, the new baby of the Wilson family, and it makes it that much more special. Chris, we were there when Paul Wilson won his first game as a Met against the Reds, and you know how much it means after 3 arm surgeries.
Oh, you know, this guy has battled back maybe as hard as anybody in recent baseball history to get back on the playing field. He's had to remake himself as a pitcher, no longer a guy that throws 95, 96 miles an hour. But I've said it before, he is one of the hardest working pitchers you're going to find around here, and he knows his trade now. He knows where his strengths are. He knows what he can do. He's just a very cunning pitcher out there that is a complete package, and that's one reason why he is not only the starting day pitcher, but he's a leader on this pitching staff as well. He's the guy that the younger players and even the other veterans look to for guidance, and Wilson's the right pick to pitch out there this afternoon.
General Manager Dan O'Brien targeted Wilson as the first work of the offseason to re-sign him. They did, and then they beefed up the pitching after that by signing Eric Milton, the free agent, and by acquiring Ortiz as well. Here's the 3-2 with one out. That's lashed down the right field line, but foul. Matsui is in the number 2 spot. He led off for a good chunk of last year, and he also played short last year after coming over from Japan. Defensively, he was subpar. Reyes, brilliant young defender throughout his minor league career with the Mets, was still coming back from hamstring difficulties, so they played him at second last year. Matsui drills this one to right. That's hanging up. That's going to be gone and out of here. Matsui, who had 4 leadoff homers last year, hitting in the number 2 spot today, gets that one up and in a little bit, and boy, does he tattoo it, Chris.
He saw the first pitch of last season and hit that yard, and he does the same thing here in this ball game. You know, it's kind of interesting, the pitch sequence, because right before that, he got a pitch in a very similar spot, hit it hard but foul down the right field line. His only power is down the line to right field, and you give him a shot to drop the bat head on one, and he'll go yard, and he did.
He bested Tommy Agee's mark for leadoff homers for the Mets last year in his first at bat this year. Bingo, he does it again, and it's 1-0. The Mets have the lead. Here's the big free agent acquisition on the field. Pedro Martinez, the biggest for the Mets in the pitching department, but everybody wanted this guy. Carlos Beltran came over from Kansas City to Houston, and thanks to Mr. Beltran, the Astros made it to the postseason last year. No balls, 2 strikes from Paul Wilson.
Well, everybody wanted him, but only a few could afford him. Don't we all want to drive Rolls Royces?
And he was the Rolls Royce of this offseason. Yep. Genuine superstar who blossomed in the postseason with 8 postseason home runs last year. The 0-2 pitch banged down to Casey. He'll take it. And there's your second out of the inning. There's your defensive alignment for the Reds today. Somewhat of a new look. Your forward defensive alignment has Joe Randall over from Kansas City, solid defender at third. Rich Aurelia, who spent time in Seattle and San Diego last year's at short. D'Angelo Jimenez at second, Casey at first. Outfield, good health is what everybody wants. Dunn, Griffey, and Kearns in the outfield, and Jason LaRue behind the plate. That's your forward defensive alignment. Joe Randall has been brilliant at times with the glove during spring training, and Chris, throughout his career, the last 4 years, he's led the American League third baseman in fielding percentage. He's solid.
Yeah, good hands. Pretty much what he gets to, he'll make, and you'll be out.
1 ball, no strikes to Mike Piazza. Talk about a great spring. This guy had it. He hit 400, 3 homers, 14 knocked in. He's hit well against the Reds through his career. 17 career homers against Cincinnati. And he also has 3 opening day home runs. He's back behind the plate. Miranda backs up on it. The laser beam across the infield. That'll do it, but damage done. Matsui homers to give the Mets a 1-0 lead. Reds go to work. Jimenez, Griffey, Casey when we return. Starting lineup for Dave Miley and the Cincinnati Reds. D'Angelo Jimenez leads it off. Ken Griffey Jr. in the number 2 spot for the first time since 1999 as they try to break up the left-hand swingers against Pedro. Casey last year 324. He's a 304 career hitter. Austin Kearns, what a great spring he's had. Adam Dunn has cut down his strikeouts during the spring. Joe Randa at third. Rich Aurelia the shortstop. Jason LaRue hits 8th, and Paul Wilson the pitcher bats in the number 9 position. And here is the 3-time Cy Young Award winner Pedro Martinez.
It does not get a whole lot tougher than facing Pedro on opening day. Here's a guy that has twice as many wins in his career as he does losses. His earned run average career is 2.71. So this guy, not only does he have a terrific arm with a great fastball and the ability to change speeds, but he's been really able to pinpoint all of his pitches where he wants to. He's a cunning pitcher with a terrific arm out there. If you're left-handed, what you have to watch out for today with Pedro Martinez is that cut fastball. He just likes to start it in the middle part of the plate, and it'll just cut right in on your hands. Very tough to pick up the spin, and he'll get a lot of broken bats and ground balls if he's on.
Pedro's ready to go to work. You know about the last 7 years. He's been a Boston Red Soxer. He was part of the Red Sox nation that won the World Series last year. As a free agent, he left Boston, came to New York, not to the Yankees where a lot of folks thought he would end up, but thanks to the hard work of Omar Minaya, the general manager in New York, he ended up in a Mets uniform as the Mets try to reinvent themselves for 2005. Here's D'Angelo, slices this one into short center field. Beltran in. We talked about Beltran's offense. He's a brilliant defender too. Here's your forward defensive alignment for the Mets. Beltran's in center. Floyd is in left. Mike Cameron was supposed to be in right. He's got a gimp wrist after off-season surgery. He's not in the lineup. Eric Valent is. Right at third, Reyes Matsui, the double play combo. Minkiewicz, great glove at first, and Piazza behind the plate. That's your forward defensive alignment. And here's Junior. Ken Griffey Jr. steps in after a good spring. 292, no homers, 5 knocked in for the man who just prays and hopes for a healthy season, as do Reds fans. Big swing, and you know his story with Pedro. He's 0 for 12 and 5 punch-outs against Martinez in his career, but he's open for turning a new page against Pedro in 2005. They overshift on him, and he fakes the bunt with David Wright, the third baseman, over at the shortstop position.
You know, it's one thing faking that, but it's another thing actually laying it down. If they're going to give it to him and he's in the number 2 hole, why not?
Big swing, and it's 1-2. A couple of years ago, Chris, we went down to Fort Myers to play the Red Sox, and Junior, his first year with the Reds, faced Pedro in spring training. Got a single through the hole on the left side, and he asked for the baseball. Remember that? He asked for the ball in spring training. That was the first hit he ever had against them. And this is his first for real. Junior, base hit right field. The Reds have a runner, and that's his first hit ever against Pedro Martinez in a for real ball game.
Hit the ball sharply if they've got the shift on you, and he finds a small little seam in between the shortstop and the second baseman, does Ken Griffey Jr. Behind the count, Pedro threw him 3 fastballs in a row, and Junior picks up a base knock.
So Junior's on, and here's Sean Casey. Casey, 240 for the spring, no homers, 6 knocked in. Those are his numbers from last year. What a big year he had. For the second time in his career, he came within 1 of his first 100 run batted in season, finishing with 99. Extensive off-season effort, had knee surgery, and worked very hard. Also got ripped, as a bunch of the Reds did, Chris, by that flu bug that toured its way through the Reds clubhouse. Lost a few pounds. You'll notice he's a little slimmer than he was at the end of last year, and has been swinging the bat well. And the other side of it, we do have our bet with him.
Yeah, I asked him the over-under number today. He told me 5. I almost fell over.
Yeah.
So I said, that's good, Sean, because I like pizza. 5 stolen bases.
Stretch the envelope. He asked for 10 last year, didn't get it. He's hopeful of 5 this year. Right now, he'll take a run batted in with Griffey on first. Casey had 44 doubles, a career high for him last year, and Piazza will go out and chat with Pedro.
You know, the Mets are one of those ball clubs that take the defensive scheme and they really take it to extreme. They're not afraid to really overplay a defense on any one particular batter. They shifted Ken Griffey Jr. way around to the right side. They're doing the same thing to Sean Casey, a batter who is known more often for going over to the left side with a base hit than he is to the right side. So they try to be as exact as they possibly can in getting their scouting reports from their advanced guys. And Casey's got to look at that infield saying, boy, it's going to be tough to hit one up the middle. Maybe I can slice one down the left side if Pedro were to throw me a little changeup away.
And this is not where most teams defense Casey, because Casey goes to the left side so easily and so well. Most, in fact, will spread the shortstop almost to a normal right-handed batter spot. So it's a different kind of defensive alignment than Casey usually sees. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Sean Casey, who, as usual, sits in the 3 hole for the Reds. Lash to left, sinking. That's a base hit. Good hitters do that. Casey does, and the Reds have 2 on here in the 4th. Back-to-back base hits in the 1st inning.
You know, the most interesting thing about that particular swing for Casey was that not a pitch that was on the outside part of the plate. It looks like he went inside out on that. The ball kind of was in on him. He dropped his hands. We say all the time, stay inside the ball. No better example than this swing by Sean Casey. Inner part of the plate, slices it to left, and the Reds have something going.
And here's Austin Kearns hitting in the cleanup spot. Kearns had one of the brightest springs of any Reds player this year. 324, a homer, and 8 knocked in, coming off a couple of injury-marred years. If spring training is any indication, he's ready to have a big year. Fouled off for strike one.
You had to figure he was hacking at that first pitch. He's a guy who about half of his home runs in the big leagues have come on the first pitch. So everybody in the ballpark who has watched Austin Kearns knows he's a first pitch fastball hitter. A little bit tardy on that one, and he went straight back with the foul.
Strike one. He has adapted his swing a little bit and his stance. Hands a little bit higher, a little bit away from his body because they pounded him in, and that's created the hand difficulties and the wrist and arm problems and injuries he's had in the past. And he has been fluid. He's been strong at the plate and in the field all spring, and the Reds are hopeful of that continuing through the 2005 season. 0-2 from Pedro. Dunn on deck for Cincinnati. Well, Chris, last time Pedro faced the Reds, he whitewashed them, and already they're doing better than they did.
That's true. That was way back in 1997. 9 innings of one-hit baseball. Was that the game that he drilled Reggie Sanders and Reggie went out to?
That was 94. That was 94. That's a foul ball down the line. Almost over the bag. Not foul by much. Reds fans will remember April of 94 when Pedro had a perfect game in the 8th inning up in Montreal, and he hit Reggie Sanders, and the bench clearing ball ensued. Here's another look at this one down the line. It just does go foul. Your umpiring crew today, that's Mike Everett at third, Tim McClellan's behind the plate, Tim Timmons at first, Chuck Merriweather's at second. Count stays 0-2. 2 on, 1 out.
Well, if you're watching the radar gun readings along our Fox box line, you'll see that Pedro Martinez is really varying speeds on his fastball. He'll throw a couple at 88, 89, 90 miles an hour. Then he kind of reared back and tried to add a foot to his fastball that time. Got it up to 94 against Austin Kearns. So he still has it when he needs it.
Is setting up on that outside corner, wanted it. McClellan doesn't give it to him. It's a ball and 2 strikes. And it's so critical, Chris, against Pedro is to make him throw pitches, go deeper in the count, because he's become a 6-inning, 7-inning pitcher, no longer a 8 or 9 inning pitcher. And you want to get into this Mets bullpen. High in the air to right. Eric Valent under it. Griffey's tagging at second. Valent's got it. Griffey's heading to third. Here comes the throw. It will not be nearly in time, and Griffey advances from second to third. Let's go back and remember the Pedro Martinez that Reds fans saw. Go back to that Montreal Expos uni, Chris.
He could really deal even back then. He really became a true pitcher in an Expo uniform, armed with a fastball in the mid-90s, a terrific changeup. And no matter when you got Pedro Martinez, whether it was in Montreal or your home ballpark, he was always a tough guy to beat.
So Griffey advancing on the fly ball from second to third. First and third now. 2 away, and here's Adam Dunn. Dunn, 281, 4 homers, 14 knocked in this spring. You know the big year he had last year, 46 homers, 102 knocked in. Dunn set a record last year with 195 strikeouts. You know that. This year he worked diligently on it, and during the spring struck out only 7 times in 64 at bats. That's a marked improvement. You want him to cut down but not take away his power.
Well, you lay off those pitches right there. If you're a big guy like Adam Dunn, I don't know. I have to check after the ball game, see what he says about that proposal.
That's the official Dunn and Kearns "Will you marry me" sign for the year. There'll be a lot of them.
He's got to lay off that high fastball against Pedro. Pedro wants you to chase that. Dunn would rather have it down around the thighs.
3-0 to Dunn. And you know Dave Miley will give him the green light here. Mark Berry's in the third base coach's box for the Reds. And Randy Whistler down at first. Same coaching staff back for Cincinnati. A whole new coaching staff, of course, with one exception for the Mets. Rick Peterson is back as the pitching coach. 3-0, 2 away. Miley very seldom will give takes. He'll let his guys go rip. Yep, we all live for this, don't we? What a great day, and no greater place to be on opening day than here in the Queen City. Findlay Market Parade earlier today through downtown Cincinnati, and just a picture perfect day for a parade, for baseball, and to celebrate the national pastime.
Whoa! How about this? That's heading to Kentucky. Dunn gets his first of 2005, and the Reds put a 3-spot on the board against Pedro. 3-1 Cincinnati. Wow! Curtain call, and they get it. You could have had your eyes closed and knew that was gone.
I'll
Chris.
tell you what, that big man hit that ball.
A bolt from the big guy, and the Reds lead it 3-1. It just sounds different when he hits it, doesn't it? 0-2 to Joe Randa. Piazza holds on, but the damage done. Adam Dunn, our Ohio Lottery instant replay. Don't throw it there because it winds up out of here. 3-1 Reds. .46 home runs last year, #1 of 2005. Today for big number 44. There was no doubt about that. Just listen to this. After this pitch, we'll let you take another listen to the belt by Dunn. First pitch to Clifford Floyd, line to left. That's a base hit. The sweet sound of success for Dunn and the Reds. They lead it 3-1. So Clifford Floyd is on, and here's Doug Minkiewicz. This Mets team hit as well as anybody in Florida this spring. And Chris, you should make a difference between Florida and Arizona, because the averages in Arizona are always up higher. It's more of an offensive spring. Look out, Wilson plunks Minkiewicz, and there's 2 on with nobody out.
Not the way you want to start the inning after your team got you a 3-run spot by letting the first couple of guys on base. It's all a game of momentum, and Paul Wilson knows that. You give up a first pitch base hit to Cliff Floyd, and then drill Minkiewicz, and all of a sudden you're looking at some trouble. Fortunately for Paul Wilson, you're getting down towards the bottom of the order now, and he's a ground ball pitcher by trade, and Dave Miley and Wilson both looking for maybe a DP lane ground ball.
Very much like the Reds, the Mets are a team that is power packed in their lineup, and David Wright showed last year at the end of the year that he has the potential to be a very impressive offensive player. Last year he had .293 with 14 homers and 40 knocked in only 69 games after coming up from the minor leagues, and he'll hit either in the 7th or 8th spot this year on this lineup. So you have to be cautious with this guy. He's got the potential to dial one up on his own. 1 ball to right. That's a strike. 1-1. Domino's Pizza welcomes the arrival of the 2005 Red season with an incredible pizza deal. For a limited time, you can get 3 medium 1-topping pizzas, only $5 each. Just call your neighborhood Domino's and ask for the 5-5-5 deal. Broken bat to short. They'll get 1 on to first. Yes, sirree. They turn 2. Quick hands by Aurelia, and a great turn by Jimenez on a very tough play with the broken bat.
Well, the ball not hit hard because it got right in on the trademark. A good pitch by Wilson, but there's the DP lane, 6-4-3, and you see the topsy-turvy turn by D'Angelo Jimenez. He had to throw the ball. It was upended by the runner, Doug Minkiewicz, who went in there very hard.
Good turn by the Red second baseman, 2 away and a runner at third, and here's the former Red, Eric Valent. Had a breakthrough year for this substitute player for most of his career. Last year he had those 13 home runs, 34 knocked in, and played in 130 games as the Mets had a series of injuries that allowed him to play. In fact, he still qualified as a rookie last year after being up both with the Phillies and with the Reds.
Well, the Reds got him for Kelly Stinnett. Then the Reds, after the season he was with the Reds in 2003, put him on a minor league contract, and that's when the Mets picked him up on the minor league phase of the Rule 5 draft.
2 balls, 1 strike. That's a strike. 2-2. What a picture perfect day. Clear blue sky, temperature right around the 70-degree mark. Jam-packed house for the 129th opening day of baseball in Cincinnati. Wilson's got it, and that'll do it. So a base hit, a hit batter, nothing to show for it. Wilson holds a 3-1 lead. He'll hit third. Aurelia due up when we return. What a great scene, isn't it? Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. Third opening day in this brand new ballpark by the river, the new home of the Reds, and the hope for 2005 that after a 76 win season in 2004, that 2005 will bring more W's and more enjoyment. Here's Rich Aurelia, another one of the new faces on this Reds team. Chris, you and I watched Aurelia, the Brooklyn-born shortstop, come into his own in San Francisco as a power hitting shortstop. He had every year 25 to 30 homers, had 37 back in 2001, and he's not the same offensive player he was then, but he is a smart offensive player, and that's one of the things that Dan O'Brien wanted. Better at bats. Joe Randa, Rich Aurelia figured to give you that.
Oh, you hit it right on the head there. They're guys that you kind of know what you're going to get with them, especially in a tight ball game, maybe later in the game. You know, there was kind of an experimental couple of years with Brandon Larson at third base, and then trying to work Felipe Lopez with time into shortstop, and I'm not so sure either of them are really ready. Obviously Brandon Larson wasn't, but you know, with Randa, he's solid, gives you good professional bats. Same for Aurelia.
0-2. Brandon Larson gone. Of course, the captain, Barry Larkin, after 19 years in a Reds uniform, not here this year. He's now with the Washington Ball Club as a special assistant to general manager Jim Bowden, and we wish him the best of luck in his new career. Still and always will be a great Cincinnati Red, Barry Larkin. That's up high. Juan Castro gone. Castro now, of course, with the Minnesota Twins as a backup infielder. Corky Miller, backup catcher, gone. He's also in Minnesota. One ball, 2 strikes to Rich Aurelia.
You know, it's not like Rich Aurelia is 39 years old and ready to give it up. He's only 33 years old. He'll turn 34 in September. So he's trying to stay in the major leagues, rejuvenate his career. Hired himself a personal trainer in the offseason to whip himself into shape. Says he came into camp this year in better shape than he ever has. And this is a super opportunity for a guy like Aurelia to get right back on track.
It figures he and Felipe Lopez will share time at short. We'll see who takes charge. 2-2. Reds fans from last year will remember the shortstops of the future, Felipe Lopez being one of them. Ray Olmedo and Anderson Machado both suffering injuries. Olmedo to his elbow, Machado to his knee. Both start the year on the disabled list, so they won't be a factor till later on this year. 3-2. Fouled off, but held on to by Piazza. That's a strikeout. 2 straight punch outs for Pedro. 1 away, and here's Jason LaRue.
How the same goes for Richie Riley as it goes for Adam Dunn. Stay off that high fastball. That's ball 4 right there. An oddity you just saw 2 times in 2 innings. A foul ball caught and held onto by the catcher. Mike Piazza 2 for 2 in that department today.
Here's Jason, 224 for the spring, a homer and 8 knocked in. His numbers from 2004 included some of his most impressive offensive figures, the 14 homers, 55 knocked in. And as you know, he set the Reds record, being hit 24 times by pitches. 44 times over the last 2 years. He leads the majors in that category. There's a breaking ball down and away. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Pedro hasn't thrown many of those yet.
No, he hasn't. He led Jason LaRue off with a slower slider, 78-mile-an-hour slider. Then the last 2 pitches of that cut fastball that I was talking about early on.
Dave Miley, Don Gullett have told Jason, yep, your offensive numbers are important, but what is even more important is that you run this pitching staff this year, and that's what we need you to do. Check swing, bloop down the right field line. In fact, when Miley talked to this club the first meeting of the year, he pointed to the veterans like LaRue. Dave Miley said, look, Barry Larkin is gone, the captain is gone, but I expect each one of our veterans to lead this year. Around that infield, into the outfield, all those veterans will have to contribute to the leadership quotient, and you could see it in spring training in Sarasota, Chris. They've all started to try to do a little bit of that.
I think everybody does their own thing. I mean, you can't force a guy who is not vocal to be vocal. You can't force a guy who's not the leader type to be a leader, but you can set an example by the way you carry yourself, and I think that's what Dan O'Brien and Dave Miley want. They want these guys who've been around a little bit to be professional ball players and to give give a little winning attitude out there, and that goes a long way.
3-2 to LaRue. Great at bat by oh, they call it a strike 3.
Now, that was a great at bat for Pedro Martinez because he really had LaRue thinking that that was going to be a pitch that would slide outside. Watch the comeback action on this fastball. Looks like it's going to be a ball out there. In fact, Mike Piazza really doesn't frame it all that much, but where is he? Is this a ball or a strike?
LaRue thought he had ball 4. It's strike 3, and it's 3 straight strikeouts for Pedro. So 2 away, and here's Paul Wilson. Hey, enter Fab Fridays from 6 to 10 every April at Grand Victoria Casino in Rising Sun, Indiana. Win a share of nearly $11,000. Some restrictions apply. See the casino for rules.
You know, we say this every year, George, when we take a look at that center field camera and evaluate whether these are balls or strikes. Our camera's not exactly behind home plate. It's not set up exactly in dead center field. It's off a little bit in left center. So you really can't tell from that perspective right there whether that ball's really a strike or a ball, even in a slow-mo.
2-1. That's a strike. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
This is as close as we'll get to being right behind the pitcher's mound, but you can see you're still a little bit off in left center field.
Now that looked like the same pitch. It was a strike 3, didn't it?
You know what an umpire will say? No 2 pitches are the same.
The world of Questec. Yes, sirree. That's fouled off by Wilson, who stays alive. 3-2.
44 pitches now in 2 innings for Pedro Martinez. So if nothing else, the Reds have made him work a little bit through the first couple.
That's the best news for the Reds. You want his pitch count up fast. Pedro pitched twice in minor league games away from the light of the glare of scouts. It's really hard to tell exactly how many pitches he threw in some of those games. He strikes out the side here, 4 for Pedro, but the Reds still lead at 3-1.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Cincinnati Reds and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Now, welcome back. Baseball in Cincinnati, a very special day and a religion of sorts for so many. Here's Pedro. Back in the National League, he'll have to put on the helmet and step to the plate. As a major leaguer, his hitting totals, 25 hits and an .094 average. This one blooped to the right side. D'Angelo has it, and there's one away. Beachmont Ford, easy to find, easy to deal with. The largest truck dealer in Southwest Ohio with over 1,200 trucks available at all times. That's Beachmont Ford. Paul Wilson touch for a homer by Matsui in the first. Gave up a base hit to Floyd in the second. Leads it 3-1. Here's Reyes. Second pitch of the game, popped out to left in the first inning. Willie Randolph took him a long time to finally get the spot, and for a while, Chris, it looked like might be the manager here in Cincinnati. The year that Bob Boone eventually became the Reds manager, that winter he interviewed with the Reds with Jim Bowden, the general manager. There's a base hit to right. Reyes takes a big turn but holds. Willie was surprised at the low figure they offered him. Number one. Number two, he was told he could only bring one coach to Cincinnati, and changing leads, not knowing the National League with only one coach, he opted out of it and did not eventually come here, and now he's got a chance to be in New York, where of course across town he was one of Joe Torre's most trusted aides.
As he said before the ball game, one door closes and another one opens. You never really know what direction your career is going to take, but in the long run for Willie Randolph, being a Mets manager, a much better fit, I think, for a kid who was raised in Brooklyn, that you know, to be out there on the East Coast rather than here stuck in the Midwest.
Wife and family here today to celebrate this very special day for Willie Randolph. Special in so many ways. Chris Chambliss, the Reds hitting coach, a close friend and a teammate with the Yankees. He's in the Reds dugout. Eddie Napoleon, who was Willie's first coach that helped him make the transition from shortstop to second in Pittsburgh, is here too. They all visited before the game today, so it's an emotional day for Willie. Not just a day as a new manager, but a day to be with friends too.
Yeah, Ed Napoleon, he's a coach in the pregame. Of course, he's on the couch in the coach's room now watching the game on television. He was everybody's first coach.
Yes,
when we did the game with Rick Manning and Cleveland Indians, he was Rick Manning's first coach. He was one of my first coaches. I think it's mandatory that you have to have Eddie Napoleon at some point during your career. Paul Wilson looks like he's on pace to break his own record, which is 144 pickoff throws last year. He was 5th in the National League, and he's already got 4 under his belt. 5 and counting.
And it looked like he threw over at the right time. Reyes was leaning the other way.
He's not careful, he's going to break my record.
Never happened. 17
in a row.
It never happened. I'll never forget that day. Either will you.
You killed me on Sports Center that night.
That's still one of the favorite highlights. That, along with the 14-run inning the Reds had against the Astros. Remember that one?
Yes.
1 ball, 2 strikes, and that'll do it. They get Matsui. 2 away. Hey, last season, Ken Griffey Jr. knocked the door down to the 500 home run club, and this season Jr. getting his own bobblehead thanks to Pepsi. Tuesday, May 24th, Ken Griffey Jr. is hitting leadoff for the 2005 bobblehead promotions. You can be one of the first 40,000 fans in the park to receive this one-of-a-kind bobblehead. It features Jr. as he stands finishing his famous home run pose. Purchase tickets for Pepsi Ken Griffey Jr. bobblehead night. 2 away, and here's Beltran. Junior base hit his first time up. Good to see him out in center field. He had a good spring. Little by little, after DHing early in spring, had more innings in the outfield, and towards the end of spring training flashed the brilliance that stamped him as a Gold Glove outfielder for so many years in Seattle. Here's Beltran, bounced to first on an 0-2 pitch, first time up. This hit pretty good, right center field. Turn around, watch that one go. And Carlos Beltran, who had 8 homers in the postseason last year, 38 homers during the season, has knotted this one up. It's a 3-3 ball game on Beltran's first belt of 2005. These figure to be 2 teams, and they'll throw it back. Both these teams figure to score runs, Chris, and they're showing that early.
You know, they're doing it against their opening day starters, too. Home run ball. These guys can leave the yard. This is one thing that the Reds pitching woes were surrounded around by last year, giving up the home run ball. They gave up more home runs than anybody in the league this side of the Colorado Rockies. And Carlos Beltran, you know, you tip your hat to guys like Dunn and Beltran because they hit them for a living. These other guys you have to keep in the yard.
So Beltran ties it with the homer, and here's Piazza grounded to third, first time up. Pitch to contact is a mantra that Dan O'Brien tapped on his pitchers last year. Pitch to contact, meaning don't be afraid to throw strikes, but you got to throw quality strikes.
It looks like just one of those days where Paul Wilson just doesn't have a real good feel of all his stuff. I mean, he's made some good pitches and he's made some mistakes, but overall he's fallen behind. Beltran got him for a home run. He went 3-2 on Matsui, who hit them for the home run, and here he's fallen behind Mike Piazza, 2-0 before he finally delivers a strike. So it's not one of those days where he can really dot the pitch where he wants to. He's kind of battling his release points right now.
That's a walk to Mike Piazza. So a 2-out walk, and here's Clifford Floyd, who singled his first time up, and Jason LaRue will go out and talk to his righty.
And you're going to have days like that. As a pitcher, I think that you probably have 1 every 5 starts where you have stuff and command all at the same time. Those days it's very easy. But on those other 4 starts, that's when the pitching coach and the pitcher need to get together and really evaluate what you can do, what you can't do, what little adjustments that you have to make. But for the most part, no matter what Don Gullett thinks on the bench, it's up to Paul Wilson to make that adjustment on the mound.
Casey plays behind Piazza down at first. That'll kick away from LaRue, go all the way to the backstop, and Piazza moves into scoring position.
Well, the Reds were notorious in this situation last year. That ball hardly even gloved. In fact, I don't even think Jason LaRue got a glove on that ball. It went off the shin guard of the home plate umpire, Tim McClellan, trying to settle Paul Wilson down. 74 wild pitches last year, 17 pass balls. That's a whole lot of running back to the backstop.
Slice to the left side, Dunn over towards the line, under it, and he'll haul it in foul territory. Damage done. Beltran homers. We're tied at 3 as we go to the bottom of 3, and Jimenez leads. Cincinnati Reds baseball on FSN Ohio is being brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. Toyota, moving you forward. By Domino's. Call Domino's now. Enjoy their incredible 5-5-5 deal. That's 3 medium, 1 topping pizzas for only $5 each. By Rico. How well do you print, copy, scan, fax? How well do you share? And by your local Jeep dealers. Come check out the all-new Hemi Grand Cherokee. Here's D'Angelo Jimenez, flied to right, first time up. He'll lead it off as we go to the 3rd. Pedro Martinez sitting on 46 pitches already in this one. D'Angelo from the leadoff spot last year hit 202, ripped to right, but foul. 2 balls, 1 strike, and he'll go back for a new piece of lumber.
You know, this was a spring training camp that was essentially without controversy. But if you're looking for controversy, the only little bit that was there was the second base position. And that was about D'Angelo Jimenez signing a one-year contract to come back at about $2.89 million. And Ryan Friel, who had a very good year last year, had 500 at bats, but he played 5 different positions. So there were some in camp that said, boy, Friel is needed at the top of this offense to get it going. Others said, well, Jimenez had a good enough year to secure his spot. That is something that will remain a lot of people keep an eye on.
If everything goes right, meaning if everybody stays healthy, Dave Miley's toughest job will be first to find at-bats for that young man, Ryan Friel, and also to find at-bats for Willie Mo Pena in the outfield. I mean, if Griffey, Dunn, and Kearns are all healthy, trying to get the at-bats for Willie Mo won't be easy, and trying to get them for Friel won't be easy. And that really, when it's all said and done, Chris, any major league manager, that's their toughest job.
It is, but it's a job they like to have because it means that they have their frontline players who are healthy. And the guys that are healthy, they want to play every day to stay in the groove. That's a good at-bat right there. Working the walk, working the pitcher, that's one of D'Angelo Jimenez's fortes.
There's Willie Mo, who had the great second half of the year last year after taking over when Junior went down after the All-Star break. Difficult to find at bats this spring, and it'll be true early as Junior steps in 1 for 1, a single his first time up. Make him throw pitches. That was the byword that Chris Chambliss was telling his Chargers yesterday and before the game today. Get his pitch count up early and hopefully do some business against the Mets bullpen. Junior 1 behind Frank Robinson on the all-time opening day home run list with those 7. Fouled off 0-2. Number 30 for his career, 501 career homers, 20th on the all-time list. Eddie Murray's next with 504. The Indians hitting instructor, and we will of course see the Indians twice this year. 3 games here in Cincinnati, 3 up in the northern part of the state.
You may have seen Mike Piazza right before that pickoff throw by Martinez kind of flip his thumb out there. And that's a sign evidently he got from the bench on what to throw. Now it looked like they're going to heater away.
He got him. Ken Griffey Jr. strikes out, and here comes Sean Casey. Let's go back to April the 13th of '94. We talked about Pedro and Reggie Sanders when Pedro had the perfect game in the 8th. Remember this, Chris?
You know, the more I see this pitch, the more I realize how wrong Reggie Sanders was to come screaming out to the mound like that. Looks like that Pedro fended him off as easily as it did Don Zimmer.
He's a tough guy to track down, isn't he? He got quick feet. Well, Pedro, of course, had the perfect game, hit Sanders, and then lost the no-hitter in the 9th. Brian Dorsett ended up getting a base hit, if I remember right, in the 9th inning. But that's the way it's been. Pedro has been poison to the Reds throughout his career. 5-2 overall against Cincinnati, but his earned run average is even more impressive. 1.76 in his career against the Reds. Here's Casey, single to left, first time up. Joe Randa said it about as well as anybody. And remember, Randa's been in the American League the last few years, and he's watched Pedro kind of evolve. He said he doesn't throw as hard as he used to, but he's become a much better pitcher. He changes speeds much more readily than he ever did when he first came over from the National League. He's a pitcher now. 3 Cy Young awards, 6 times an All-Star, and now a World Series ring too with the Red Sox last year. There goes the runner, swing and a miss. The throw in the dirt, not in time. A stolen base for D'Angelo. Strikeout of Casey though, so 2 away and a runner at second.
They took the good pitch to go on because it was an off-speed pitch. Take again the strikeout pitch by Martinez to Sean Casey. It's a slow one that he just drops right in there. Piazza gloves it cleanly, but he gets a throw off that takes him a little bit longer. There's a breaking ball, one of the few curveballs we've seen Pedro throw, and the one hopper to second base. Not in time.
6 strikeouts for Pedro as D'Angelo gets his first stolen base of the season. Here's Austin Kearns, flied out first time up.
Boy, interesting the way Pedro has changed his approach the second time through the Reds lineup. The first time through, he threw almost exclusively all fastballs. 4-seamers, 2-seamers, occasional changeup. This time through, he's thrown a lot more breaking balls and a lot more off-speed pitches.
Ball and a strike. Good to see number 28 healthy and in the lineup. And playing the way so many Reds fans had hoped he would play for 2005. Healthy for the first time in a couple of years. One ball, 2 strikes to the Reds right fielder. Adam Dunn, who homered his first time up, is on deck. Breaking ball gets him. We've got a 3-3 ball game working. Pedro's punched out 7 through 3. Heading to the 4th. Here comes Minkiewicz. At Great American Ballpark, lights are bright, music playing, and hearts are all light. But there will be joy in Redsville because the mighty Casey set the ball sailing deep into flight. Great American Insurance Group handing out figurines of Sean Casey to the first 40,000 fans Saturday, July 23rd. This great rendering of the Reds All-Star depicts Case ready to pounce and drive one into the deep seats. Don't miss Sean Casey figurine night Saturday, July 23rd at 7:10. There's Doug Minkiewicz, hit by a pitch first time up. Last year started the year in Minnesota, traded to Boston, and was part of the World Series celebration. So much a part that he wound up playing first base when the final out came off the bat of Edgar Renteria. That baseball was tucked in his pocket, put it in a safety deposit box, and finally reached an agreement late this winter to allow the Red Sox to display it, but he has maintained ownership of it. So that's the the offseason story of the Red Sox championship.
And the other reason why he's not wearing a Red Sox uniform right now.
He's sure provided them with some great defense. He's one of the best defensive first basemen in the game. Still a pretty good offensive player too. The Mets horrible defensively in the infield last year with Matsui at short, Reyes learning second, and a host of people including Mike Piazza down at first. Much better this year just by the fact they have this guy at first for a good chunk of the year. He'll save a lot of errors by your infielders. That's a strikeout. One away. Here comes Wright. Time for our Aflac trivia question, our first one for the new year. Who holds the Reds record for most opening day home runs? The Reds record for most opening day home runs. You know, Ken Griffey Jr. has 7. And then already today, Dunn has hit 1, Matsui has hit 1, and Beltran has hit 1. There's David Wright. He had 14 homers of his own after coming up from the minors last year. And Chris, he's stamped as a can't miss prospect. Sky to the right side, heading to the seats. Kearns, will he have room? It'll be out of play.
Well, David Wright has always been a can't-miss prospect, but what he did last year in his 269 at-bats is establish himself as a can't-miss major leaguer. Yeah, he's batting down in the order for the Mets right now, but this guy's got unlimited potential. Good hitter for average. Got nice power. Hit 14 home runs in those 60-plus games last year and drove in 40 runs. So he gives you a little bit of wallop down at the bottom of this order.
0-2. That misses a ball, 2 strikes. Mets traded Ty Wigginton to allow him to have room to mature at the end of last year.
If you watch him very closely and watch his front foot as he strides a little bit towards third base. Doesn't step in the bucket, but he makes himself susceptible to that pitch right there, which is low and away, and that's where Paul Wilson's trying to exploit him. One of the ways you scout hitters is where does he step? Does he step towards the plate or not? And that's not exactly in the bucket, but it's not exactly in towards the plate to hit that outside pitch.
He has his feet dancing there. 3 balls, 2 strikes, full count for Wilson. New hitting coach for the Mets, Rick Down, former New York Yankee hitting coach when Willie Randolph was part of the Yankees staff. Fouled at the plate. The rest of the staff: Jerry Manuel, former manager of the White Sox. Rick Peterson is the pitching coach retained from last year. Manny Acta, and of course one of our favorite baseball people, Chris, Sandy Alomar Sr. Guy Conti is out in the bullpen. Sandy Alomar Sr., the bench coach. Slash to right, Kearns back, turning to the wall. It is off the wall, and Wright will have 2 and hold there. A double for Wright. So a runner in scoring position with 1 out here in the 4th, and here comes Eric Valent.
Now that ball slicing off the bat of the right-handed hitter turned Austin Kearns around a couple of times. Boy, he went down and got that pitch, and it didn't even seem like he hit it that hard. This kid's got some power, but it goes over the head of Austin Kearns after Austin twisted around and holds him to a double.
So Wright in scoring position. Here's Valent, who ended the 2nd when he bounced back to Wilson. Down to Casey. That'll get the runner over to 3rd. 2 away. And here comes Pedro hitting in the 9th spot in the order.
You know, George, as you were reviewing the Mets coaching staff, the coach down there at first base, Jerry Manuel, said, "Boy, this is a nice ballpark." I said, when have you been here before? He said, "Well, when I was being interviewed for the managerial job." He was interviewed at the same time that Dave Miley was for the managerial job, and they took him through the ballpark. He says it was a little colder then, and there wasn't anybody in the stands, but this is as nice as it gets. So the former White Sox manager and having a little fun down there at first base.
Great communicator, highly regarded as a baseball man. Didn't work with the White Sox, and he's very hopeful, as most former managers are, of getting another chance. He's down at first base for Willie Randolph. Here's Pedro. Popped out to 2nd, first time up. Right back to Wilson. A double, no harm though. Mets strand a runner here in the 4th. To the bottom of 4 we go. Dunn, who homered last time up, Randa, then Aurelia. Cincinnati Reds baseball on FSN Ohio is being brought to you by Ford. See your local Ford dealer. By JTM Food Group, the brand you can count on. By the Ohio Lottery, odds are you'll have fun. And by Hyundai. Scoring's up, River's high over in Kentucky. The river was even higher yesterday. It's down about 4 or 5 feet from where it was, but the Ohio is pretty swollen these days. Here's Adam Dunn. Good hand for him. He homered first time up to give the Reds a 3-1 lead. Bingo for Dunn. 424 feet worth of homer on a 3-1 pitch.
That's about where he'd like to have every pitch. Thigh high, middle in. He can hit him a long, long way.
Dunn's on a short list regarding Pedro Martinez. The only homers hit by Reds off Pedro were Dunn's today, Barry Larkins back in 1996, and Chris Sabo back in '93. Those 2 were solo homers. Dunn's was a big-time 3-run shot to give the Reds a 3-1 lead. Two 2-0. Everybody wonders, Chris, how will Pedro do in New York? How will this retooled Mets team? We're concerned, obviously, about the Reds here, but in New York, they're asking the same kind of questions. Can their revamp rotation get it working for Omar Minaya and Willie Randolph? They suffered a bit of a blow this week. Chris Benson first was backed off. He was scheduled to pitch tomorrow. He won't. He's been placed on the disabled list today, so he'll start the year on the DL. Steve Traxel injured his back. Swing and a miss. That's strikeout number 8 for Pedro. They still have Zambrano, Ishii, Glavine in this rotation right now. Here's your Aflac trivia answer for today. Home run question on a home run kind of day. Who holds the Reds record for most opening day home runs? Did you get this? Frank McCormick with 4. It took Rich Cope all winter long to think that one up, didn't he? Eight punch outs for Pedro. Here's Joe Randa, struck out first time up. You think Pedro and the Mets will be a good marriage?
Well, you know, I think that usually, and everybody will normally agree to this, so when you move a pitcher from the American League, which is a hitter's league, to the National League, you're going to improve that pitcher. When you get a pitcher the caliber of Pedro Martinez, you have to figure that will ring very true. Here's a guy that had an earned run average in the American League of 2.5 during his years of pitching for the Boston Red Sox. So, yes, in short, a good pitcher is a good pitcher no matter what uniform he wears.
Joe Randa in his career 7 for 26 against Pedro. That's pretty decent, and a homer. He struck out his first time up. A lot of folks wanted Pedro this offseason. The Red Sox made an initial 2-year offer. They said they wouldn't go to 3. He talked to the Yankees. No offer was ever made. The Mets then offered him a 3-year deal. The Red Sox matched that at 3, and it was the 4-year deal that eventually got him to sign with the New York Mets. Last few years he spent time on the disabled list. Not last year though. 2 years prior to that he did spend time on the DL. Takes a little off. Out in front is Randa. That's strikeout number 9. So Pedro's heading towards a multiple strikeout double figure day. He struck out as many as 17 in a game the last time back in May of 2000. He used to do it with heat. Now he does it with the at and this.
Yeah, he's combining all of his pitches. That a little bit of a changeup right there. 9 of 10 batters now Pedro Martinez has struck out. So he is on some kind of a roll. You talk about having a good feel of your breaking pitches. Pedro's in the zone.
Really at the center. Over his Beltran. He's got it. So the Reds make contact. Nothing to show for it. 1, 2, 3. They go in the 4th. Here we go to the 5th. Reyes will lead it off. Top of the order. Thunk it. First week of April, opening day in Cincinnati. Shirt sleeve weather. Boy, what a beautiful day. 70 degrees. Bright sunshine. The Mets flew in from Washington where they played an exhibition game yesterday, and it was about 38 degrees and rain, so they were happy to get here.
Hey, hasn't it been like this all spring here in Cincinnati? While we were down there and where it rained horribly in Sarasota, Florida?
You told Debbie that too, huh? And no matter what the weather's like in Florida, people up here don't want to hear it when we're down there for spring training.
You better believe it.
Here's Reyes. Flied out singled, 1 for 2. Slapped down the left field line, curving towards the seats. It will be out of play. Ball 2 strikes. Souvenir on opening day. And the bruise to prove. DeAngelo has it over to Casey. Reyes retired, 1 away, and here comes Matsui, who homered in the first. A 379-foot shot. Here it is.
Now, we talked about that sweeping swing of Kaz Matsui, and he'll hit his home runs. Yes, he'll hit them to right field for the most part. Hit 7 of them last year, drove in 44 runs, and stung that first pitch that he saw from Paul Wilson that he could handle pretty good over the right field wall.
Struck out his second time up, 1 for 2, shows bunt, takes a strike. Matsui signed out of Japan as a shortstop, and it became evident early that he wasn't the shortstop for the Mets' future. Reyes came up as a shortstop, and after the hamstring difficulties, they didn't want to put him there, and Griffey will haul this in 2 away. At the end of the year, they talked to Matsui and made it clear they wanted to move him. He acquiesced, moved to second, and Willie Randolph said he thinks he'll be a much better major league second baseman than a shortstop.
Well, he doesn't have to make the throw from second base that he has to make from shortstop, and that was his shortcoming. Reyes, on the other hand, has a gun from shortstop, so they found themselves a nice little niche there that they hope to have around for a long time.
Willie was talking about how he made his transition from short to second. It came when he was with Pittsburgh, and also when he moved to New York, where he became a fixture at second. And he credited Ed Napoleon with helping him in Pittsburgh, and Chuck Cottier as well. 2 guys who he says if they had not helped him, he's not sure he ever would have gotten started on the right foot, and he sure did. What a solid defensive player he was, and part of the Yankee tradition of postseason play.
Classy guy.
1 ball, 1 strike to home run hitting Carlos Beltran. He hit his first of the year to tie it at 3 in the 3rd. How much do you think those 8 home runs added to his offseason money total signing with the Mets? 8 postseason home runs after a good season with Kansas City, and even better half season with the Astros. He cashed in during the offseason. Loop down the left field line, curving. It's a fair ball. Beltran thought it was going foul. He slows up. He'll be at second. He hesitated momentarily, and not bad for a guy that signed the big contract. A homer and a double, 2 for 3.
He just slices this ball, Beltran does, and after hitting one foul on the previous pitch, he thinks this one's going foul. Has a little English on it as it spins off the left field wall, and he'll get up with a double.
And you cannot forget about him, even with 2 outs at third. He's an outstanding base stealer. He stole 31 straight, 42 stolen bases all told last year. Here's Piazza, 0 for 1 and a walk. No experiment this year. Mike Piazza will either DH or be behind the plate, maybe here and there drop him in at first if needed, but he's a catcher again, and he's happy about it. Was not comfortable at first in the experiment last year. Number 1 on the all-time list of home runs by a catcher, 358. He passed Carlton Fisk at 351, and the Reds' great Johnny Bench at 327.
Which you would figure would automatically make him a Hall of Famer.
Oh yeah. And he will go down as the best hitting catcher in the history of the game. And that was one of the reasons why he wanted to stay behind the plate, to get that number. And you figure he's heading for 500 home runs for his career. Last year in a Mets contract, so it'll be interesting to see how it all translates. 1 ball, 1 strike. Beltran grew up in Kansas City, where the media spotlight is not as bright as it is in New York. Mike Piazza's had to deal with it and handle it well. Carlos Beltran will feel that heat this year. Got in on him a little bit, popped into short left. Aurelia says, I have it, and he does. So a double from Beltran, no harm there. We're still tied at 3. To the bottom of 5 we go. LaRue due up. From Cincinnati, Reds baseball on FSN Ohio is being brought to you by Quickcrete Cement and Concrete Products, celebrating opening day of baseball and the do-it-yourself season. Pedro's been doing it himself today. 9 punch outs through 4 innings. Here we go to the 5th. Jason LaRue will lead it off. He struck out looking first time up. LaRue and then Wilson due to follow in the 9th spot in the order. Swing and a miss, 1-1. LaRue, the #1 catcher this year. Corky Miller gone. He's in Minnesota. Javier Valentin once again his backup. Valentin won the battle with Bobby Estalella in spring training, and Chris Estalella really couldn't have done much more. He threw well, caught well, and hit almost 400.
Yeah, it really came down to familiarity with Javier Valentin. Both of them very close to being the same as far as catching. Valentin a switch hitter, and the fact that he's been with the Reds a year, I don't think there was enough difference between those two for Dave Miley to upset the apple cart, so to say, and bring on a new guy and send Valentin on the way. And there's a lot of guys who are very friendly with Valentin. So, you know, you keep what you have because you know what you have.
2-2.
It was interesting because from the beginning of camp, Dan O'Brien would tell you the Reds are not going to keep 3 catchers, but for a while there, because it was they got such good play from Bobby Estalella, they considered it.
And double-figure strikeouts for Pedro. That's number 10. Most career double-digit strikeout games in history. Pedro at 100 now with the 10 today. Roger Clemens at 108. Randy Johnson 204. And you know who's number 1? Nolan Ryan, 215 double-digit strikeout ball games.
And they said this guy was too small to be a strikeout pitcher.
Everybody except Dave Wallace, now the pitching coach for the Red Sox, and of course then a minor league pitching instructor for the Dodgers. He argued and argued and argued that don't worry about it. This guy's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. But the Dodgers were concerned that he couldn't take the punishment of starting every 5th day.
That is 4th most in Major League history.
Here's Paul Wilson as Pedro dials up his 10th punch out in the 100th 10 or more strikeout game of his career. And make that 11. And Chris, it's been a strikeout kind of day for Pedro.
He's had them all different ways with fastballs and breaking balls. A fastball looking to Jason LaRue. That got it going for his 3rd strikeout back in the 2nd inning. He's got them chasing on the outside corner, but not only does he change speeds, you look at the location of these pitches. They are in terrific locations, low and away, up and in. This guy's got it working today. For a guy coming out of his first start of the regular season, right out of spring training, he is pitching in midseason form.
And you wonder how far they will go. 81 pitches, that's his 82nd. He did tweak his back. They backed him off on one start. He pitched twice in a non-spring training game to minor leaguers. And you really don't know how many pitches he actually threw under duress in those situations. But you wouldn't think it'd be more than 90 pitches. You doubt it that he would go much further than that. Unless Pedro wants to, and that's
yeah, but what you're not doing is worrying about today, because obviously Pedro's in a groove. He could probably throw 130 pitches the way he's out there grooving it today. But what you're worried about is what will it take away from his start the next time he takes the mound. He has always been better, Pedro Martinez, throughout his career when he's had an extra day of wet rest. He's not the kind of pitcher you'd ever want to pitch on a 3-day rest. And usually if you can give him an extra day, he's been a much better pitcher. And of course, coming out of spring training, he's been able to really take as much rest as he's wanted to gear himself up all for this start, and it is paying off.
3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. About to deliver his 87th pitch of the afternoon.
Looking for quality products and outstanding service? Turn to the brand you can count on, JTM.
Rookie manager Willie Randolph in New York, not an easy job, and handling a personality like Pedro will be one of his tests this year. And it's been clear in recent years that Pedro at times has done what he wanted to do in the clubhouse, around the ball club, and in his rotation. Willie Randolph has been much more stringent in the way he's set guidelines so far. That's a call, strike 3. 12 punch outs for Pedro. He's been dialing it up. We are tied at 3. And don't forget, join us as we honor Sparky Anderson, number 10, retired May 28th. Captain Hook, as he was called back then, molded the Big Red Machine into one of the greatest teams in history. Get this special event early for a one-of-a-kind pregame ceremony. Receive a commemorative art card from Great American Insurance Group and honor a special man and a special manager, Sparky, number 10, May 28th. Great American Insurance Group card is free to the first 40,000 fans in attendance. Here's Clifford Floyd swinging at the first pitch he sees, drilling one back through the middle for a base hit. Floyd's 2 for 3, single to center. And that'll bring up Doug Minkiewicz in this tie ball game in the 6th inning.
Boy, Cliff comes out of the on-deck circle ready to swing the bat. He's seen 2 pitches and lined them both for base hits, and his 2 knocks on the day. He's a first pitch fastball hitter all the way.
2 for 3 today. Floyd on first. Here's Minkiewicz, hit by a pitch and struck out. That's going to find its way through into right. Back-to-back base hits off Paul Wilson. Wilson now with 76 pitches. His last 2 times out in spring training, he was around the 65 to 70 pitch mark. So you'd figure, Chris, sometime this inning they'd be getting someone up anyways.
I see Mike Stefanski up and running back down there, so they evidently have made a call to the bullpen already. This inning very similar to that of the 2nd inning when Cliff Floyd lined a base hit on the first pitch, and then Minkiewicz got hit with the 2nd pitch. So 1st and 2nd, nobody out. Wilson helped himself by getting a ground ball double play out of the next batter. But a little different story here is he's really battled today, Paul Wilson has. He's not had his best stuff, not had his best command, but he has battled very tough and hanging right in there.
Let's see what Willie Randolph does. You've got right up. Do you sacrifice him here with 1st and 2nd, nobody out in the 6th inning? Showing no signs of it there. Deep in the lineup with Valent behind him, and then the pitcher spot after that.
Now that's a problem. If you're at the number 1 spot, you may be dropping a bunt down, but when you're down the number 7 spot, you're talking about possible pinch hitter and the next guy if you do have a bunt here.
David Weathers up and throwing in the Reds bullpen. There's some stretching but no throwing in the Mets bullpen right now,
which is another reason why you won't see a bunt.
1 ball, 1 strike. Right, bounced into a double play, double to right. Reds double play, depth in the infield. Slapped the other way, 1 and 2. Willie was saying before the game that it's tough to find where to put this young man as a hitter. Do you put him in the middle of this lineup to protect him? There are times, he said, that they'll put him in the number 9 spot this year in front of the pitcher, just because this is such a potent lineup that the Mets will have. He hangs tough again, 1 and 2.
You know, it's a very potent lineup, but what we haven't seen is one of the unique things about this lineup is that they may be the fastest lineup, at least the top of the lineup, in the National League this year. You've got 3 legitimate base stealers with Reyes, Matsui, and Beltran, and those guys haven't had a chance to get on base and run much yet. Plenty of power as you get deeper into the lineup.
The Reds' speed is on the bench right now. That's Ryan Friel. He's the only legitimate base stealer the Reds have.
There
to short. Again. 6, 4. Yes, sir. 3. Second double play that Wright is bounced into. Second one just like this.
Well, Paul Wilson saved his best sinking fastball for the most precious time. He got in on David Wright and he rolled over on it, went into that 6-4-3 DP lane. And with nobody up in the bullpen now, this is a smart move by Dave Miley. They're going to walk the number 8 hitter Eric Valent and pitch to Pedro.
Valent 0 for 2. Pedro 0 for 2 as well. With 2 away, needing 1 out, they'll take their chances with the Mets hurler Pedro Martinez. No reason to take a chance. I mean, Valent last year, finally getting a chance to play, had 13 homers, so why even take a chance? So Valent takes the free pass, and here comes Pedro. Soft liner to second and a bouncer back to the pitcher.
Now in a situation like this, you pitch to Pedro Martinez like he's the number 3 hitter in the lineup. You break out every pitch you can in order to get an out and get out of this inning.
That's a ball. Pedro 12 punch outs on the day so far. Paul Wilson struck out Matsui in the 3rd and Minkiewicz in the 4th. 2 for the afternoon. Last year, number 40, 111 for the Reds, 11-6. 6 times he left games with leads, though, and didn't get a victory. Popped up right side. Here comes Casey over, and he can't get it. Is he all right? He slams into the screen in front of the Reds dugout and gets a nice hand for the effort.
Boy, Casey, he looks like he was lucky not to hurt himself. That's concrete at the base of that fence right there. His right knee going right up against it.
There's a netting above that. The netting is what bounced him back onto the field, fortunately. One ball, 2 strikes to Pedro. Nub down to short. Aurelio will take it over to first, and that'll do it. So 2 leadoff hits, but Paul Wilson buckles down, gets a ground ball double play, gets out of the jam, still tied at 3. Griffey do, and we return. Cincinnati Reds baseball on FSN Ohio is being brought to you by Beachmont Ford. Easy to find, easy to deal with. And by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% on car insurance. Visit us at geico.com. There's the man who said, go ahead, spend $17 million more, Chris, and go out and get a couple of pitchers and a couple of players. Carl Lindner at the ballpark today. He showed up at spring training and told the Reds players, we're looking forward to having fun this year.
Instantly improved this ball club with that extra spending, no doubt about it. Brought in a couple of legitimate starters, brought in a 3rd baseman that can play every day, and got this city all excited about their Reds baseball team.
Here comes Junior. Single to right, his first hit ever in a regular season game against Pedro, and struck out in the 3rd. 1 for 2 is Ken Griffey Jr. Sitting on 501 career homers and 7 opening day homers, 1 behind the great Frank Robinson for the all-time lead. Great to see him running well again. Dr. Timothy Kremchek reattached his hamstring with 3 screws last summer. He and Jason Romano both underwent the same operation, and both of them ran well all spring, Chris.
In fact, Romano told me he feels better than ever, which is hard to imagine after you've been through a major leg surgery like they've been through. Junior, on the other hand, has had so many different operations. He's had wrist operations, ankle, knee, hamstring, shoulder.
It's a medical book.
He's pushing Evel Knievel's record.
2 balls, 1 strike. Last time Junior hit in the number 2 spot was 1999, the last game he played for the Seattle Mariners. Last time he hit an opening day homer was 99 as a member of the Seattle Ball Club against the White Sox. Hit it off James Baldwin then. And he'd love to dial one up again here. base runner for the Reds. And here comes Casey. FSN Ohio welcomes our viewers watching on Inside Communications in Covington, Kentucky, and Time Warner in Cincinnati. Thanks for watching Reds baseball on FSN Ohio, and welcome aboard.
Well, if Pedro Martinez fails to get out of this inning, you can let the second guessing begin with the New York press as to why Willie Randolph didn't have a pitcher up so that he could pinch hit for Pedro Martinez at the top of the 6th inning with 2 out and bases loaded.
We talked about it early. He's become a basic 6-inning pitcher, and here we are in the 6th. Reds trying to do some business against the brilliant right-hander who's pitched so well so far today. 12 strikeouts already for Pedro. Casey up, Kearns to follow, then Dunn. This part of the Reds lineup has all 3 of the Reds hits. Down the line in the left field corner. That's a foul ball. Griffey already around the bag, would have scored easily.
One of the things that makes Sean Casey such a dangerous hitter, left-handed, you know, not a lot of left-handers like to spray the ball like that, especially guys big stature and frame like Casey. 6'3" or 6'4", 230 or 40 pounds. Can't label him a singles hitter, but he's a gap hitter, but he's not afraid at all to go the other way. That's why looks like the Mets now are playing him a lot more straight up than they did the first time.
That's nubbed the other way again. It'll be in the seats and out of play. Ken Griffey Jr. saunters back to first. He represents the go-ahead run in a 3-3 ball game here in the bottom of the 6th in Cincinnati. Action now in the bullpen for the Mets. Manny Ibar is up and tossing. Even with the injuries to the pitching staff, as Pedro closes in on 100 pitches now at 96. The big question mark for the Mets won't be their starting, it'll be their bullpen. Can the bullpen hold up under the pressures of a full season to keep the Mets in contention? Uh-oh. 4, 6, 3 double play. Well, Pedro gets what he wanted. That's the first Met double play of the day. 4-6-3 twin killing. And here comes Kearns. Pedro, of course, came up with the Dodgers, went to Montreal, and Chris, even when he came back to Montreal in 1998, he visited to see friends and was honored by a standing ovation at the ballpark. Still one of the favorite sons of Montreal baseball. Now he's a favorite son of New York and the Mets. Tom Glavine due to go tomorrow. Game 2 rather, which would be on Wednesday. And Glavine, of course, you talk about Pedro being tough against the Reds. Nobody's been tougher than Tom Glavine through his career, Chris.
Fortunately, we're playing this game in Great American Ballpark and not Riverfront. He was unbeatable at Riverfront.
This is pitch number 100, 1-0-0.
On ball, 1 strike to Kearns. Here's the 100th pitch of the afternoon by Pedro.
Well, what great control Pedro is showing today. You know, the way he straightened up Sean Casey on the 0-2 pitch before going down low with a slider to get the double play ball after throwing a changeup to Austin Kearns up under his elbows with that fastball. Every pitch he throws has a purpose and changes the eye level of the hitter on nearly every pitch he throws. And never have I seen today anyway Pedro throwing back-to-back pitches, same spot, same speed. It's always a change in speed or change in location.
Did he go? No.
So you get a guy like Pedro with this kind of control, and does Austin Kearns go right here? They check him, and tough to tell. Looks like he may have.
Full count, 3-2.
So tough to guess along with him because he can hit all quadrants of the strike zone.
Down to third. Wright has it. And Minkiewicz dances the bag and snares it. So the Reds go 1-2-3 even with the walk. We're tied at 3 going to the 7th. Say gear up for the season at Reds.com. Shop Reds.com for the widest selection of Reds jerseys, caps, t-shirts, collectibles, and a whole lot more. Shop Reds.com today. Going shopping to the bullpen for the new pitcher for the Reds, Paul Wilson. 6 innings, 8 hits, 3 runs, 2 strikeouts, 2 walks. And here comes a former Met, a former Red, now a Red again, David Weathers.
Yeah, back with the Reds for the 2nd time. David Weathers pitched 148 games for the Mets in years 2002 and 2003. So one of the guys that Dan O'Brien brought in here to be a veteran out of the bullpen. First call of the bullpen goes to the right-hander David Weathers.
Reyes, center field. There goes Griffey. It's going to be over his head all the way to the wall. He's thinking 3, but will stop with 2. Second hit of the afternoon for Jose Reyes, a leadoff double here in the 7th off Weathers, and there's the go-ahead run in scoring position.
You know, talking to a lot of the New York people before the ball game, talking about Jose Reyes, they said the difference in Reyes this year is the ball is exploding off his bat. He swings it the same, but instead of being 155 pounds, now he's grown a little bit. He's gotten some strength, and that ball completely fooled Ken Griffey Jr. Jr. took a couple of steps to his left and realized it was hit much better than he thought, went all the way to the center field wall.
Now we'll see what they do with Matsui. A runner on second, nobody out. He shows bunt. Matsui, a very good bunter. At the very least, he bluffs there. We'll see if he'll lay it down, get the runner to third.
Hey, he stepped completely out of the strike zone, or out of the batter's box on that, and almost on the plate, and trying to get that bunt down.
A good one. Weathers gets it there in time, but the runner to third. A successful sacrifice. 1-3. So the go-ahead runs at third. And here come the big guys, Beltran, Piazza, and Floyd. Willie Randolph saying he thinks Matsui, not just as a second baseman, but in the second spot in the lineup, is suited perfectly. He thinks he'll have a much better offensive year. And hitting in front of this guy, that's a good reason, too. Here's Carlos, bounced to first, homered his first of the year to tie the game at 3 and then double. The Reds bring the infield in. And Beltran is the full package. Outstanding defender. He can run, he can hit with power, he'll steal bases. He's got the numbers to prove it and the money to prove it now, too.
And he's a switch hitter, and he's about the same from both sides of the plate. Some switch hitters drop off dramatically when they turn him around and make him bat the other way. Not so with Carlos Beltran.
Here are the numbers from Weathers for last year. Higher earner on average than his career years before that. That man right there was the one single reason that the Astros finally did have a push to the postseason last year. That's through into left, and a base hit that'll score a run for Beltran. So Weathers gives up a double and a single, and the Reds trail it 4-3. 3 hits for Beltran today.
Now the poison of playing the infield in, you make a 300 hitter a 500 hitter, and Beltran finds a hole right beyond Joe Randa at third base and drives a run in.
And look out for Beltran at first. He has stolen 31 straight. All told last year he had 42 stolen bases. There he goes, and they got him picked off. He slammed on the brakes, and LaRue does the perfect thing. They've got to put the tag on him, and they do. Well, Before the game today, Jason LaRue said, I know what my challenge is today. And boy, he did what the Reds needed him to do. Beltran nipped off first, and they erased the speedy base runner.
I'm not really sure what happened, and you won't know till after the ball game and you talk to Beltran as to why he stopped. Usually when a base runner doesn't get a good jump off first base, he's going to stop right away. But he goes about halfway and stops.
Good job by Jimenez. Slapping the tag on him. Carlos is retired, and so Carlos Beltran's streak of 31 straight stolen bases is snapped. The Reds erase the base runner, and here's Piazza with 2 away. Quick reaction by LaRue, Chris. So often you see Beltran run, you're just coming up firing a second. Piazza, right center field, back there goes Griffey. Warning track, that is off the wall. Griffey's got a shot at second. The throw will be wide, and Piazza will be in there. Mike Piazza doubles his first hit of the year, 1 for 3.
Always a dangerous hitter. The Reds have kept him pretty quiet on the day. Piazza is one of those guys that you describe as hitting the ball right out of the catcher's mitt. It seems like he hits it so late, but he provides tremendous power. Very, very strong hands and wrists.
Out comes Dave Miley, and that'll be it for David Weathers. And Kent Mercker, the left-hander, will come in to face Clifford Floyd, the left-handed hitter. Time for our Skyline call to the bullpen. Welcome back to Great American Ballpark. George Grant along with Chris Welch. We knew we'd get something special when Pedro Martinez pitches. We did. Martinez and Paul Wilson hooked up in a dandy so far.
I'll tell you what, same old Reds, though. A lot of swinging and misses. Not to be embarrassed against Pedro Martinez, because he's got strikeout stuff, and he's shown everybody throughout his whole career he can do that. But this is a very close ball game. They're giving the fans a treat here. Sellout crowd at Great American Ballpark. 1-run ball game, and a left-hander Kent Mercker on. Third time he's been back with the Reds. 71 games last year for Merck, and good to see him in a Reds uniform. The Reds need some left-handed help in the pen.
Native of upstate Ohio, back with the Reds for another tour of duty. He'll face Clifford Floyd, the left-hand swinger. Mitkevich right behind him. Floyd 2 for 3 today. Mets have broken through for a run here in the 7th off David Weathers. Double by Reyes, single by Beltran. They lead it 4-3. Piazza out at second, not great speed. One click, one call, one number can do it all. 761-1111.com. McCluskey Chevrolet, home of the guaranteed credit approval. It's wide, 1-1. Mercker came up with Atlanta as a starter last year after stints in the American League and the National League with the Angels and the Reds. He was in Chicago. Back with the Reds for 2005. And Chris, when you bring Kent Mercker to town, you don't just bring a guy that can get a lefty out here or there. You bring a guy that helps bring some frivolity and solidarity to a clubhouse.
It's a long season, and no one knows it better than those guys that sit out in the bullpen, and you've got to figure a way to stay sane, and Mercker can help you do that. You know, it's a guy like Mercker that can teach a young pitcher, you know, how to have fun and relax and stay relaxed when you're in a tight situation. You can't go down there and sweat it out from the first inning on that you may be called upon. You got to relax and be ready.
2-2. Slap to the left side. Is there room? Nope, it'll be in the seats. Miranda ran out of room in that left field corner. Floyd 0 for 4 in his career against Mercker. facing him here. A healthy Clifford Floyd would go a long way towards making this Mets lineup one of the most formidable in the National League. He's had a number of ailments the last couple of years. When he's right, he can be a dominant offensive player. The left center field hit pretty good. That's going back towards the wall, and that's out of here. First row of the seats in left, a two-run homer for Floyd, and the seventh inning is blown up for the Reds bullpen. A two-run shot, and the Mets take a 6-3 lead.
Well, you said it exactly right, George Graham. That Cliff Floyd hits the ball hard. He nearly undressed Paul Wilson his previous time up on a line drive up the middle. That time, it looks like he got under it a little bit. But this ballpark will give up some home runs now, and it really jets out there to left center field. And Cliff strong enough to get it out there for a two-run shot.
So this 3-3 ball game is turned around quickly here in the seventh. 6-3 Mets, and here's Minkiewicz.
Estimated distance on that home run was 383 feet, 383.
That's a bullet through the middle, another base hit. 5 hits in the inning off the Reds bullpen here in the seventh. And with 2 away, there's a runner at first, and here comes David Wright. Minkiewicz now 2 for 3 and hit by a pitch today. Well, when the year ended last year, Don Gullett, Dave Miley, Dan O'Brien went to the offseason thinking the first thing we have to do is reconstruct the bullpen. And on this day at least, the bullpen has not answered the call in the seventh. But clearly, Chris, as you look at the bullpen as we've seen it unfold during March, if they get the starting innings they need, this bullpen should be better. And it's a liner down to third. Wright's retired as Randa snares it, but the damage done. 5 hits in the inning. Run scoring hits by Beltran and a homer by Floyd at 6-3 Mets. Bless America from Great American Ballpark. Time for our Chrysler game summary. Mets took the lead on Matsui's homer in the first, but a 3-run shot by Adam Dunn gave Cincinnati the lead off Pedro Martinez in the first inning. That's the way it stayed till Beltran's homer tied it at 3 in the third, and then the 7th inning, 5 hits and 3 runs for the Mets. They lead at 6-3. Dunn the big 3-run homer. Beltran 3 for 4. Pedro Martinez punched out 12 in his effort today. Paul Wilson exited after going 6 innings, 8 hits and 3 runs. So the Mets take the lead, and that is your Chrysler game summary, as it's a bullpen game from here on out. Don't forget, more Reds baseball will be coming your way on FSN Ohio. Game 2 of this series, off day tomorrow, will be on Wednesday, and we'll be on the air with you on Wednesday. For the Reds against the Mets, it'll be Eric Milton against Tom Glavine. Be on the air with Real Reds at 6:30. The game will follow at 7. Then on Thursday, Aaron Harang is scheduled to go against Kaz Ishii. Ishii picked up from the Dodgers just at the end of spring training. So Pedro's day is done, and boy was he brilliant today. He leaves with a chance for a victory, and he leaves after punching out 12 Reds.
6 innings of 3-run, 12 strikeout baseball for Pedro Martinez, and he gives way to a former Red back in 2000. Manny Ibar pitched in 32 games for the Reds, had a 101 record and a 480 earned run average. He's traveled around a little bit since then. He's been in St. Louis, he's been in Colorado, he's been in Florida, Chicago, and last couple of years in San Francisco. So the Reds will stick with a a right-hander to face, and this time a sinker baller in Manny Ibar.
Martinez threw 103 pitches, 65 strikes, 103.
Pedro's numbers: 103 pitches, 65 strikes for the afternoon. So the Reds go with Dunn, Randa, Aurelia as we go to the 7th inning. 9 outs to work with for Cincinnati, trailing by 3, 6-3. 6 runs, 13 hits for the Mets. 3 runs, only 3 hits for the Reds. Griffey a single in the first, Casey a single, and then Dunn the homer. That was all in the first inning. Since then, the Reds did not have a hit off Pedro in 2 through 6. Dunn homered and struck out 1 for 2. Tries to check it, can't do it. 0-2. Want to get more out of every day? Drink new Pepsi Edge, full flavor, 50% less sugar and carbs. Reward yourself. Drink Pepsi Edge. Manny Ibar, Roberto Hernandez, Mike DeJohn, Braden Looper, the right-handers in this bullpen. Mike Matthews, former Red, Scott Stewart, Felix Heredia from the left side of this bullpen. Swing and a miss. Dunn's retired, first out of the 7th and the 13th strikeout of a Reds batter today.
Now this is the pitch that he was able to stay away from swinging at with Pedro Martinez on the mound. But we've noticed here before at Great American Ballpark, on a clear day late in the afternoon, it becomes very, very difficult to see the ball come in there. The glare comes off the batter's eye in center field. Very tough to pick up the spin, and Adam Dunn went chasing.
Here's Randa, first pitch swing in center field, going back, off the glove to the wall, and Randa will have a 2-base hit. Beltran went a long way, got a glove on it, couldn't hold, and the Reds have a runner in scoring position. Would have been a spectacular catch. As it is, it's a double.
What a great effort by Carlos Beltran. I mean, he went a long way, and in fact, it looked like he had this ball right in his clutches. Randa, short swing, compact. Hits it right over the head of the center fielder, and there goes Beltran.
Remember, Joe Randa played with Carlos Beltran in Kansas City, and before the game he said, I know one thing, before it's all over, he's going to rob somebody, and he almost robbed his former teammate.
He may need a Band-Aid or two. That crushed brick warning track out there, not the softest thing to slide on.
Here's Aurelia, 1 out, 1 on, runner in scoring position. Well, we talked about it earlier, and there's the divot and the cinders out on the warning track. This is a day when the bullpens figured in because both starters did not figure to come anywhere near a complete game. The Mets have gotten 3 off the Reds bullpen, and the Reds are trying to return the favor. Bunt, but foul. Good idea. With right deep, about 15 feet behind the bag at third. And that's what Joe Randa and Rich Aurelia bring to this lineup. Smart at bats. They'll go deeper into a count. And that's something the Reds lacked last year, Chris. Not just even hits in key situations, but productive outs. And the Reds had many rallies snuffed out by just bad at bats. No balls, 2 strikes. LaRue on deck for Cincinnati. Popped up in the infield. Reyes almost slips and falls. Now rights himself, and he's got it. 2 away. Reyes seemed to trip on the edge of that outfield grass and able to right himself. Tracks it down, and there's 2 away for Jason LaRue. spectacular athlete is Jose Reyes, and much more comfortable being in his familiar shortstop role this year. LaRue 0 for 2, 2 punch-outs. D'Angelo Jimenez struck out once. Cruz on deck for the Reds. Griffey struck out once. Casey once. Kearns once. That's a shot into the alley. That'll get a run in. LaRue will go to second. Here comes Randy to the plate, and the Reds have cut the deficit to 2 at 6-4.
Nobody happier than Jason LaRue to see Pedro Martinez out of the game. He was overmatched with Pedro on the mound, but he got a first pitch hanging slider from Manny Ibar and promptly lines it into the gap for an RBI.
First run batted into the year for LaRue. He's at second, and here comes Jacob Cruz to pinch hit for the pitcher Merker. Cruz, the Reds' most effective pinch hitter last year, had 3 homers, one of them off the bench, and he outlasted Luis Lopez for the final spot in this opening day roster. Luis Lopez will go down to Louisville. He told us yesterday that he will accept the assignment to Louisville, and while he has opportunities in other places, he hopes to get the chance to come back up here later. Very valuable. Lopez is etched out, hard to believe, Chris, a 9-year, now a 10-year career as a utility player, and done a fine job every place he's been.
Had a very fine spring too.
And Jacob Cruz has had the same kind of a winding road through his career. Found a home here in Cincinnati last year and trying to deliver a key pinch hit in Game 1 of 2005. He had 14 pinch hits last year. And other than Sean Casey, he had the best record of any Red with runners in scoring position. Setting up away is Piazza. That's a strike. Misses inside, 2-2. LaRue stretching his lead off second. Outfield fairly deep with 2 away, so a single should score him easily. Beltran, good arm in center. That got him. He locked him up with a breaking ball. Cruz punched out. 2 strikeouts in the inning. Reds have been punched out 14 times. They get a run. It's a 6-4 game. Mark the date down May the 20th. Combined music and fireworks here at Great American Ballpark on Pyro Musical presented by National City. This Pyro Musical is produced by Rozzi's Famous Fireworks, who are world-renowned for their captivating fireworks shows that combine power, grace, and style. National City Pyro Musical will begin about 20 minutes after the end of the Reds-Indians game. For more info on this and other Pyro Musicals, log on to Reds.com. Here's the new pitcher, Ryan Wagner.
He comes in after having an excellent spring. Ryan Wagner throwing the ball for strikes. Excellent movement. That same old Ryan Wagner slider. Poised to have a pretty good year.
Pretty impressive this spring, huh?
He really was. I mean, he went out there every time and did exactly what he wanted to do, knowing that he had to have a good spring to make this ball club.
As Eric Vallant 0 for 2. Bounced out twice, reached on an intentional walk. You know, it might not have seemed that important for many, but I think for people on this team it was important last year when Dan O'Brien decided to extend Dave Miley before the end of the season. He had said all along that he would address the Miley situation at the end of the year, but They decided in early September to extend Miley's contract, and the coaches knew they were coming back. So for the month of September, they met with each of the players and told them what they expected them to do. So they had a head start on 2005, and Don Gullett, Tom Hume met with Ryan Wagner and told them what they expected him to do this offseason. Boy, when he showed up for spring training, he was ready to go.
Yeah, you know what? And it wasn't like when he was able to show up for spring training and just show up and make the ball club. There was a dogfight for a couple of spots on this roster, especially after Dan O'Brien brought in veterans like David Weathers and Ben Weber and Kent Merker, essentially guaranteeing those guys jobs. So you add that to Danny Graves, and there weren't many spaces to go around in the bullpen. Ryan Wagner had that O tag along with him, which means options. They could send him out and not worry about losing him. So he had to have a pretty good spring, and he did. Great natural stuff.
Here's Marlon Anderson pinch hitting. He bounces this one to second. He's retired. 2 away. 2 quick outs for Ryan Wagner. What a day at the ballpark.
Oh boy, the boys are out there. Dan Welsh and Mac Welsh. Where's Mac? It looked like he's sleeping down there a little bit. Brought the Carrolls and the Dieters are here. I got them nice seats out there in the sun deck, George.
And we had to make sure that the girls left before we took the shot of it. So
and you know
we don't
what?
want Debbie to worry back home.
They didn't even have to skip school to come to the ball game, so they broke an old Welsh tradition.
Nice to have vacation week.
Yes, it is.
Here's Reyes, 2 for 4, single and a double.
That ball hit him, but they said he swung
it's a
at
strike. That's the first time in about 2 years that the Reds have got the benefit of that play. Usually it's worked the other way.
You know you have a good breaking ball when the batter swings at the ball and it hits you. That was not a foul. That got him right on the toe.
Here's the 0-2. That's outside.
When I say natural stuff by Ryan Wagner, he's not overpowering. His fastball is 89 and 91 miles an hour, but it's got excellent movement. I mean, it just darts all over the place, mainly low and away from lefties. And he's got that nasty slider to go along with it, so he can control both sides of the plate because he's got 2 hard pitches that go in different directions. A guy that was converted from a starter to a reliever his senior year at University of Houston, or his last year at University of Houston. It opened a door for a big league career.
Blooped into right center. That's a hit. He's going to try for 2. Here comes a throw, and that's what electrifies the Mets hierarchy about Jose Reyes. The speed, and we talked about Griffey and his hamstring injuries and surgery. This guy was battling back from that last year, and he's running well this year.
If you're not thinking double right out of the box, you don't get a double on this play. Pick the pocket of the outfielders right there, and he's got speed, no question about it. In fact, it was Austin Kearns that came all the way over from right field to make that play. That ball was in right center field.
2 doubles and a single for Reyes today. He's 3 for 5.
I mean, if Griffey charges that ball hard from the get-go, he doesn't even probably attempt to go to second base on it.
I mean, you may have taken a peek. You really couldn't see the bag on that replay, but Sean Casey wanted to double check after Randy Whistler from the bench yelled at him to appeal down at first. Chuck Merriweather said, he touched the bag. So the run in scoring position with 2 away. Dae-Sung Koo now loosening in the bullpen for the Mets. Here's Matsui, who homered, struck out, flied out, and sacrificed with Reyes out at second. Line, but foul down the left field line. Wagner will take it. Go over to Casey. That'll do it. So no harm with the double, but the Reds still trail by 2, 6-4. We go to the bottom of the 8th in Cincinnati. Top of the order due up. Hey, Sunday, get caught in the action as the world's greatest bass fishermen compete with the top amateurs in a weekly tour with over $7 million in prizes on the line. See who's the nation's top angler on FLW Outdoors Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific on FSN. Here's the new pitcher for the Mets, left-hander out of the bullpen, Dae-Sung Koo.
They call him Mr. Koo. The media in New York does. The sidewinding left-hander comes in after spending 8 years in pitching in the Korean League. MVP of the league back in 1996. Had 18 starts last year with a fashioned 6-10 record.
Signed as a free agent this past winter. A number of teams were interested in him.
And the reason he's out there as a left-handed reliever is because last year the left-handers in the Korean League hit about 200 off of him.
And it turns D'Angelo Jimenez around, batting from the right side for the first time. D'Angelo 0 for 2 and a walk. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Reds trying to make up a 2-run deficit here in the 8th. That's outside for a ball. Strength of the Mets bullpen is at the tail end of it, and Braden Looper. Mike DeJean up and loosening in the bullpen for New York now. D'Angelo will be followed by Griffey, Casey, then Kearns, and there are the numbers this spring for Koo. Koo. And this becomes, Chris, a tough time for hitters. 2 o'clock start early in the year. Those shadows start to creep in front of home plate, between home plate and the mound.
Well, the shadows are one thing, but the reflection off the batter's eye is even tougher.
Down the right field line, that'll be in the seats and out of play.
You know, during day games, especially bright days, you'll see some batters go up there with sunglasses on. There's the batter's eye that we were referring to. That bottom part of the batter's eye is glass. Now it's tilted downwards so as not to reflect directly into the batter's eye, but still you get a reflection out there on a real bright day when that sun begins to set, especially early in the year.
Strike 3, second time today that D'Angelo has disagreed with a call by the home plate umpire Tim McClellan. It's Tim's call that counts, though.
Well, D'Angelo thinks this curveball went around the plate. I think what made it look worse was that Mike Piazza had a hard time holding on to it. So when it squirts out of the catcher's glove, it's tougher for an umpire to ring him up. But McClellan has had a lot of practice ringing up Reds today.
D'Angelo had a pretty good case.
That's 15 of them on the day for the Reds.
Here's Griffey, singled, struck out, walked. Breaking ball in there. Hope you join us on Wednesday. Real Red 6:30. Game will follow. We'll get to see Tom Glavine in his quest for 300 victories against Aaron Harang for the Reds. Oh, and 2 to junior. Brandon Clausen, the left-hander. Danny Graves, the right-hander, up in the bullpen for Cincinnati. That's a call, strike 3. Piazza's having trouble holding on to him. Reds are having trouble seeing him. 2 strikeouts in the inning for Koo. First time you see this guy, Chris, turn his back to you, throw up an arm, throw up a leg, and then deliver that.
Yeah, he can freeze you with that almost a Louis Tion style of turn.
And here's Casey. Sean singled, struck out, bounced into a double play. One final. Detroit has beaten Kansas City 11-2 at Comerica Park. That's the site of this year's All-Star game in Detroit. In the 5th, Baltimore leads Oakland 4-0. In the 7th, White Sox lead the Indians 1-0. In the 2nd, Toronto and Tampa Bay are scoreless. Tonight, Minnesota and Seattle. National League just completed. Milwaukee's won over Pittsburgh 9-2. In the 5th, Philadelphia leads Washington 4-1, and Colorado leads San Diego 4-0 in the 2nd. Cubs and Diamondbacks later on. Randy Johnson sure didn't miss a beat yesterday, huh?
You know, watching that Red Sox New York game last night, I was realizing why it was nice to see Randy Johnson in the American League.
That's right.
Of course, watching Pedro today
It's
gave me
good news and bad news.
Yeah, exactly.
2-1 to Casey. There's a dribbler. Koo has it, and that'll do it. So the Reds go 1-2-3 and weekly here in the 8th. 2 more punch outs for the Mets, and they lead at 6-4.
Now Danny Graves, the new pitcher. Not a save situation for Graves, but you want to get him some regular work. And Reds down by 2 as they go to the top inning, or the 9th inning. Here comes Danny Graves. 68 games last year with a 1-6 record.
Another one of those returning Reds who reported in great physical condition, and he had a good spring. First swing by Beltran, skied to center. Junior's under it. He's got it 1 away. What a day for Beltran, though. Single, double, homer for Beltran. 3 for 5 on that fly ball out to center, and you signed a big contract your first day at work. That's the kind of numbers you want to put up, huh?
Well, you want to keep the New York press off you as long and as much as you can. I don't think he's going to have a problem doing that. This guy is just reaching his peak as a ball player, and he's got every tool you need.
Here's Piazza, doubled his last time, up 1 for 3. How do you deal with New York? This guy could write a book about it. Came over from the Dodgers after a great Rookie of the Year and then extended career in LA. Got off to a horrible start. The media and fans got on him. He just kept his mouth shut, played hard, and keeps hitting home runs and is heading to the Hall of Fame someday. Aurelia takes care of that 2 away, and here comes Clifford Floyd. Most of the winter, the Mets had Clifford Floyd's name on a list of possible trades. Now, when they got Beltran, the question was, would they trade Mike Cameron? Would they trade Clifford Floyd? Cameron had wrist surgery in the offseason, and Mike was rounding into pretty good shape till he aggravated a strain to his wrist this past week. Not described as related to the surgery, but
Don't you love that?
Yeah.
You have wrist surgery and then your wrist starts to hurt. They say, well, it's not related to the surgery. I can see the surgeon backing up right now.
Not me, not my fault. Mike wanted to be in the lineup today, couldn't be. They hope that he'll be in the lineup before the series is over. Foul to the left side. Miranda under it. He's got it. 1, 2, 3 for Danny Graves. That's the good news. The bad news is Reds down to their final 3 outs. We're going to the 9th. Baseball's back, and so is the Best Sports Show, period. Join Chris Rose and John Sally tonight. They'll talk to Rangers All-Star second baseman Alfonso Soriano. Texas getting ready to open the season tomorrow in Anaheim. Plus, from the defending world champion Bo Sox, Kevin Millar checks in to talk about last night's opener against Randy Johnson and the Yankees, and a whole lot more. Best Sports Show, period, presented by Buffalo Wild Wings tonight at 9 and 10:30, only on FSN.
Well, the guy the Reds do not want to see today, at least in a save situation, is their closer, Braden Looper. 6 times in a row, this guy has pitched 70 games or more. Last season, 71 games with the Mets. Previous to that, 70-plus games with the Florida Marlins. He picked up 29 saves and 34 opportunities, and given the fact that this is the time of day when it is extremely tough to see the ball, tough outing or tough chore ahead for the Reds here in this inning.
About as difficult as it'll be at any time of the year right now. We've seen it with the swings from both sides in the last couple of innings. Here's Austin Kearns. Flied out, struck out, bounced out, 0 for 3. Dunn to follow, and then Randa due up. Kearns 0 for 1 against Looper. Base runners, that's what the Reds are looking for right now. In a very difficult time of day with shadows not just at home plate, but the light stanchion shadows cross home plate and cross the mound, and the glaring sun in center field. That's through, base hit, tying run comes to the plate. Here comes Dunn, who's already homered today. And he has a homer against Looper in his career, 1 for 5, a round tripper. And they're starting to come alive. A crowd of 42,794. The 23rd sellout in Great American Ballpark history, and the largest crowd ever at the ballpark here today. They're up on their feet on the rounds area behind home plate, around the right field, as they'd love to see Dunn do what he did earlier. He homered a 3-run shot in the first, then struck out in the fourth, and struck out in the seventh.
Looper is the kind of pitcher that is normally very stingy with the home run. In 83 innings last year, he gave up at 5.
Griffey and Dunn, the only Reds with homers against Looper on this Reds team.
Hit pretty good. Does he do it again? That's going to be gone. What a start for big number 44. A 2-home run day. The 10th time in his career he's had a multi-homer day. And the Goldust twins are crossing home plate. We've got a brand new ball game, Chris. We're tied at 6.
That's the way a big man hits it. Jubilant in the Reds dugout. Second home run of the day for Adam Dunn, and they're in shock in the Mets dugout.
In the ninth, a single by Kearns, a homer by Dunn, and they're on their feet at Great American Ballpark asking for a second curtain call of the day, and Dunn gives it to him. When he hits them, as Joe Torre always says, they stay hit. Man, it's like swinging a heavy hammer when the Porter, Texas native delivers. New ball game, tied at 6.
You know, with most guys at the plate, to scout them, you're going to say you better keep the ball down on this guy. But with Dunn, you don't want to keep the ball down. That ball just above the knees, he goes down and drops the head.
Doesn't show emotion very often, but that game tying homer deserved a clap.
Well, you've never seen him catch an 8-pound bass.
Not on the field. He doesn't show emotion.
Behind him, you see Willie Mo Pena with a bat in hand as we hit the 6th spot in the lineup. If they get around to the pitcher spot, you may see Willie Mo. Well, Dunn delivers not once but twice today. He started the Reds scoring a 3-run homer in the first, and he caps it with a 2-run shot here in the 9th. They measure that homer at 434 feet. The one he hit in the first measured at 424 feet. Joe Randa battles away, 3-2, fouls another off. Randa today, 2 strikeouts and a double. There's a calmness in that young man, isn't there? Especially when he steps to the plate.
And confidence.
Yep. Hit pretty good to left. Does he have enough? Guess what? It is a walk-off homer. Welcome Joe Randa to Cincinnati. And the Reds have struck in the bottom of the 9th for 3. What a way to start 2005. Look out at home. What a day. Braden Lupert, Adam Dunn. This ties it at 6. And then Joe Randa. What a way to put a stamp on your first day in a Reds uniform, Chris.
Right there. It had plenty of elevation. It's out of here, and that's what I'm talking about.
Here comes the dugout. Look out at home. They're all out. Casey going crazy. The Reds greeting Randa at home plate. Well, the Reds have done it before. Never more glamorously than here. They win it 7-6 over the Mets. Back with more after this.
We are back at Great American Ballpark, and the Reds in dramatic fashion. Adam Dunn, a 2-run shot in the 9th, followed by Joe Randa's solo shot to win it. And the Reds win opening day 7-6. Jim Day in the dugout. We're with Adam Dunn. 2 home runs today. Boy, that's a good way to start.
It is. I mean, that just shows the heart of this team. I mean, it seems like every time we're in the 9th inning, you know, even last year, it's never over. And we got some big hits tonight.
Your first home run here, we're going to take a look at. Talk us through it if you could.
Well, with Pedro, you just try to make contact, and he left the ball over the middle of the plate, and I was fortunate enough to get good wood on it.
Now, one of the knocks on you in the past has been you need more hits with guys in scoring position. It had to be big. I mean, you almost single-handedly won the game today.
Well, I wouldn't say that. Paul Wilson pitched well. I mean, they're a really good team right now. They got a good lineup, and with Pedro on the hill, I mean, if you score runs, you're going to have to score a lot of them.
Sean Casey was coming off the field and screaming to the fans, expect it, expect it. Is that the attitude of this club this year?
Well, definitely. I mean, that was the attitude coming in, February. We expect to win, and not hope to win, and hope the fans are the same way.
One last question, the second home run, could you take us through it?
Yeah, it's, him, he's got a really good sinker, and we're just trying to stay on it and not try to do too much with it, and again, it just hit the right spot.
Adam Dunn, great day, congratulations, thanks for your time.
Thanks a lot.
Adam Dunn, 2 big home runs today as the Reds are victorious 7-6. Stay tuned, we got the Gold Star Chili Reds wrap ahead, but let's go back upstairs to George and Chris.
Thanks, JD, and Chris, you write a script for opening day, a sellout, largest crowd ever for sellout, 42,794 here at Great American Ballpark. You sent 40,000 plus home smiling today.
Well, they're rocking and rolling. They're playing the music loud. They're always happy on opening day, George. First time they've won here at Great American Ballpark on opening day. And I'll tell you this, in the last 5 times the Reds have won the World Series, they have won opening day. So you can't win them all unless you win the first one. Here we go.
1990 was the last time they led wire to wire. And guess what? They're in first place day 1 of the season. Great American Ballpark. It's a great American day for baseball. And a great day for the Reds. Adam Dunn, 2 homers on the day. Joe Randa caps it with a 9th inning walk-off blast. He gets mobbed at home, and the Reds have a smiling side of the scoreboard. See you at the ballpark, everybody. Coming up next, Gold Star Chili Reds wrap.